just praying that somebody's pulling her out of the river right now.
Continue coverage of breaking news today on the Morning Edition after a midair collision between an American Airlines flight and a military helicopter. We've got new details this morning as it's now a recovery effort, and officials don't believe there are any survivors. Plus,
the F-35 is an excellent and very safe airplane.
We're now entering day 3 of the investigation into this crash at Eielson Air Force Base. Hear from a Top Gun pilot and a crash investigator about the next steps moving forward, and later.
I've been here every day just patching it up, making sure it looks good.
A beach, a bucket, and a whole lot of team spirit. One Eagles fan turning sand into a Super Bowl tradition. How his massive 2010 sculpture could be a good luck charm as the Morning Edition starts now. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up and joining us. Hopefully the tide doesn't come wash it away.
Yeah, hopefully not. But here at home, there is a chill in the air.
Burr.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. The coldest air of the season. We stayed in the single digits yesterday, and we'll see parts of South Central today that may stay below zero for those afternoon highs, as both today and tomorrow will be the 2 coldest days that we've seen so far this year. We're still holding on to those slick roads across South Central. Those temperatures beginning to nose their way down near zero as you head out towards western parts of the Anchorage Bowl. We're still seeing some breezy conditions. That makes it feel more like 15 below outside, so those wind chills will be a concern through the day for a large portion of South Central. As you head through East Anchorage, this is where those temperatures are dipping below zero. Campbell Creek, 14 below. Muldoon, 9 below. Ship Creek sitting at 6 below this morning. So we're seeing some of those notoriously colder spots dipping below zero this morning. We're seeing that out towards Wasilla, where it's 11 below, 17 below in Eureka, 16 below in Golcana. Temperatures out towards the coast, they are slightly warmer, but still sitting in the single digits and the teens. And you can see plenty of clear skies to be expected across South Central as we've got that area of high pressure keeping us on the drier and sunnier side. Now, temperatures today will slowly warm. We'll stay in the single digits for inland areas. Parts of the valley may stay below zero today across a good portion of the Mat-Su Valley, so we'll be watching for that later this afternoon. As far as what we're dealing with across the state, that area of low pressure still keeping some snow in the forecast out towards southeast. There's our areas of high pressure that's keeping us on the drier side, but out towards the Aleutians, we're watching our next storm system that's already beginning to impact out towards Adak as well as Unalaska, where we're seeing that southerly flow that's leading to warming conditions. As that builds to the east, we're going to see blizzard conditions out towards western and southwest Alaska with some additional snow accumulation to be expected. I'll time those details out for you and have that 7-day forecast coming up.
Breaking news this morning out of our nation's capital, a tragic midair collision between an American Airlines passenger plane and a military chopper overnight at Reagan National Airport has triggered a massive recovery effort. Between the 2 aircraft, 67 people are believed to have been on board.
Fire department officials believe there are no survivors. So far, at least 28 victims have been pulled from the water. Natalie Brand is in Washington with what we know so far, but we do want to warn you, some of what you're about to see may be disturbing.
Earthcam video shows the moment a commercial passenger jet and an Army helicopter collided in midair just before 9 p.m. near Washington, D.C.'s Reagan National Airport.
Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river.
Now a recovery effort for the victims in the frigid waters of the Potomac River.
At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident.
American Airlines says Flight 5342, operated by PSA Airlines from Wichita, Kansas, was approaching the airport with 60 passengers and 4 crew members on board.
We're absolutely heartbroken for the family and loved ones of the passengers and crew members.
This man told a local CBS News affiliate that he believes his wife was on the plane returning from a business trip.
She texted me that they were landing in 20 minutes. The rest of my texts didn't get delivered. That's when I realized something might be up.
The Army says the Black Hawk helicopter involved, similar to this one, was on a training flight with 3 service members on board.
In a statement, President Donald Trump said he's monitoring the situation on social media. He also questioned the actions of the helicopter and air traffic control prior to the collision.
We will not rest until we have answers for the families and for the flying public.
Multiple agencies are investigating the incident, including the Pentagon, FBI, Federal Aviation Administration, with the National Transportation Safety Board taking the lead. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
And as you can see from this video here, a massive search and recovery effort is underway right now in the frigid Potomac River. Dive teams at the crash site appear to have found one of the plane's two so-called black boxes, as well as pieces of passengers' luggage. A source says nearly every law enforcement agency in the D.C. area has responded to this scene. Several are using divers.
The water that we're operating in is about 8 feet deep. There is wind, there is pieces of ice out there, so it's just dangerous and hard to work in.
We are apparently witnessing what is likely the biggest commercial airliner crash in the United States in the last 2 decades.
The National Weather Service says the river's nighttime temperature is likely about 35 degrees. It says people can survive in water that frigid for about 90 minutes. Meanwhile, details are beginning to emerge this morning about who was on that plane. U.S. figure skating confirmed that several coaches, athletes, and family members were on board, as well as members from the Russian ice skating delegation. All were returning from a training camp for top juvenile figure skaters. And according to officials on the ground, all air traffic in and out of Washington, D.C.'s Reagan National Airport has been halted until at least 7 a.m. That's Alaska time. We did hear from American Airlines CEO just after he got news of the crash.
We're going to go work with the NTSB, but the most important thing right now is taking care of the families of our passengers and our crew members and making sure we do all that we can to take care of those that are involved. Thank you.
And the main runway at Reagan International has been ranked the busiest in America, with more than 800 daily takeoffs and landings, according to the airport's authority. This, of course, is a developing story. We'll continue to bring you details throughout the morning edition, both on air and online.
Back here in Alaska, questions are mounting more than 2 days since the F-35 went down at Eielson Air Force Base. This photo shows the aftermath of the crash. We spoke with a crash investigation expert to find out what comes next. Dr. Jeff Edwards says an investigation board is being formed and a preliminary report is expected within 30 days.
They'll collect that information into a report. And that report is, like I said, is due to be published within 30 days, unless there's extenuating circumstances. Like in this case, they may be, hopefully, have recovered any recording devices.
Edwards compares the process to a police investigation, examining evidence, interviewing witnesses, and analyzing footage of the crash. Investigators will trace the wreckage path, photographing and documenting every piece to understand how it came down. They'll also be questioning the pilot to gather crucial details. More information, visit our website. 2 fatal crashes this month are calling into question the safety of the Seward Highway. 2 people died and 3 others were injured earlier this week in a crash near Portage on the Seward Highway, and a collision with a semi left 1 dead and 2 others injured on January 9th. This morning, we're asking what makes this road so challenging. It's a beautiful stretch of highway to drive, but it's also narrow and undivided with few pull-off areas, and parts of it are prone to landslides and avalanches. The Department of Transportation warns weather along the highway can be unpredictable.
It's really important, as anywhere in the state, to drive for conditions. But that area in particular, the weather can change quickly.
The Department of Transportation urges drivers to take their time, use extreme caution, and stick to the speed limits when driving the Seward Highway. Another reason to be cautious is wildlife. Just last night, a moose was killed after it was hit by a car on the Seward Highway. You can see in this video, the car was seriously damaged, and there are even tufts of hair still attached. Police quickly responded to the wreck and told Alaska's news source the collision caused some traffic delays as 1 lane was closed. No one was injured.
A man shot by Anchorage police earlier this month after allegedly opening fire on another man in Government Hill is set to face a judge this afternoon. A grand jury indicted 38-year-old Trevor Stefano on attempted murder charges yesterday. He's also accused of assault, weapons misconduct, burglary, and criminal mischief. Prosecutors say Stefano targeted his former employer, Stephen Priddle, firing multiple shots on January 8th. Police were already in the area responding to reports of gunfire when the confrontation unfolded.
The suspect walked around the corner and began firing at and shooting the male caller from inside the house, causing injury to him. Officers quickly responded to stop the threat by shooting the suspect, striking him multiple times in the lower body.
Alaska's news source went door to door asking neighbors for their reaction to Stefano's indictment, but no one was willing to comment on the case. We also reached out to Priddle. He declined an interview, saying he didn't want to interfere with the ongoing investigation and prosecution.
Turning to Capitol coverage now, in Juneau, a joint legislative task force is digging into a detailed report on Alaska's struggling seafood industry, a situation lawmakers are calling a crisis. Pointing to at least 18 fishery disasters over the past decade, lawmakers are now laying out recommendations to help stabilize the industry and protect Alaska's economic future, saying the report is a starting point. The report, they say, is just the first step toward long-term solutions.
We've done our job. We've interviewed lots of people. We've gotten information, and we're going to pass this now along to the legislature, particularly to the Fisheries Committee, chaired by Representative Stutz, and to the Resources Committee on the Senate side.
The bipartisan group of lawmakers adopting the Seafood Task Force report. It will now be amended and move out of committee. Several lawmakers also lamenting what they say was Governor Mike Dunleavy's omission of the seafood industry from this week's State of the State address. Which brings us to our next story. Alaska Democrats are speaking out after Governor Dunleavy's 7th State of the State address Tuesday night, commenting not just about what he said, but what he didn't say. The governor highlighted a $16 billion boost to the permanent fund and a 37% drop in statewide crime, painting a positive picture of Alaska's future. But Senator Bill Walikowski sees it differently, saying the reality is 2 separate economies exist in Alaska and only one is thriving.
It's challenging to negotiate with someone who you feel like you have a deal with, and then they just change their mind at the last minute. That's a real challenge to negotiate a deal with that person. But that said, we're here. We'll continue to have discussions. We'll continue to work across the aisle in a bipartisan manner and try to find solutions.
This session, a House majority introduced House Bill 69, which proposes to increase the base student allocation by an additional $1,000 in the upcoming school year.
Since inception, this $4.1 million has been contributed to education through this program.
4 Alaskans hit it big Wednesday in Juneau, winning thousands through the annual PFD raffle. The drawing included entries from Alaskans who chose to donate a portion of their permanent fund dividend to public education, with each $100 contribution securing a spot in the raffle. Department of Revenue Commissioner Adam Crum says over 9,000 Alaskans participated this year. Half of the money raised goes directly to public education, while the rest is split between an education endowment fund and the raffle winnings.
Our starting fund balance for the fund for the 2025 dividend is a little bit higher than it was a year before. So the first place prize has a good chance of being even more than it was this year. So the odds of, as more and more people participate, that number grows more and more. And so it's this kind of evolving raffle aspect that not only more people participate, it's more towards education. It's also a better chance of getting a really good chunk of money.
The first place winner for the 2024 PFD received $80,000 for their donation made using their PFD funds. Second place is taking home just over $40,000. For a full list of winners, check out this story on our website.
After the break, every day, patients desperately wait, but only a fraction of people step up. If you've ever donated blood or you've not, ask yourself why. A simple act could save a life. The shocking numbers in this morning's Health Watch.
And later, nearly 80 National Guard soldiers prepare to deploy to Poland. Their next challenge and what this deployment means.
Coldest air of the season continues to settle in across the state. Meanwhile, blizzard conditions out towards southwest Alaska. I'll break that down for you to look ahead to the weekend. But first, sunrise 9:23 in Anchorage, 9:48 in Fairbanks. Your full forecast is next. Welcome back in on this Thursday morning. Coming in at 27 minutes past the hour, we've been seeing snow occurring out towards southeast, and we've still got several areas up under a winter weather advisory. Take a live look out towards Juneau this morning. You can see those snow-covered roadways as you get out on the roads this morning. Just take it easy as you will encounter the potential for some hazardous road conditions. 28 degrees is where we're currently sitting at. Temperatures are set to drop here through the rest of this week as we tap into some of the coldest air that southeast has seen so far this season. And you can see snow is falling from the northern panhandle all the way out towards areas from Petersburg, Hyder, Ketchikan sitting on the drier side, but there is the potential we could see some light snow accumulation through the day. This snow will end from north to south later this afternoon into the evening hours, and that's where we'll see those colder conditions filter in on the backside of this system. That will also lead to some clearer skies. So there's those winter weather advisories that we are seeing. There's also an extreme cold watch as you head out along parts of the Klondike Highway. This is where we're talking about wind chills could drop as low as about 40 to 50 below. So be prepared for that in some of those higher elevations where we're going to really tap into those colder conditions. So looking at that snow total forecast, just a couple of inches expected through the remainder of today into the evening hours. Some heavier activity does look possible as you head out towards Petersburg, Hyder. So be prepared for that likelihood. But there is on average about 5 to 8 additional inches of snow accumulation does look likely. And then we're going to see those temperatures drop through the overnight hours as the snow comes to an end. You can see overnight lows, teens and 20s to be expected. Gusty winds still likely for the northern panhandle. We clear out with some sunshine returning Friday, highs in the teens, potentially staying in the single digits for parts of the northern panhandle as we welcome in your weekend.
They answer the call. Now they're packing their bags and heading overseas.
Nearly 80 Alaska Army National Guard soldiers are preparing for deployment to Poland, supporting a critical NATO mission. Quinn White takes us inside the gates.
A group of about 80 Alaska Army National Guard soldiers are preparing to deploy to Poland.
We also had many volunteers, people who said they really wanted to do this mission. Everybody's very excited, very motivated to do the work.
It's not their typical deployment. These soldiers will be joining thousands of other troops in the region to manage facility maintenance on various bases, as well as coordinating with military contractors.
It's not all about conflicts, and a lot of it's about hospitality. How much good can we put out rather than the negative a lot of people focus back on? There's a lot of positive we can really put out there and show a different face of a military rather than something that's more of a defensive element.
These soldiers will leave next month for Poland. Their mission is part of Operation Atlantic Resolve, which has been active in the region supporting NATO since 2014, helping connect the United States with its allies.
We can succeed together as a team because that's where we're going to be our strongest.
Not a goodbye, but a see you later. Quinn White, Alaska's news source.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically and stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.